Hello and welcome to the Churros E-Tacticas podcast. What a day. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I feels like a little bit like the glory days when we have a strong Real Madrid, a strong Barcelona. Jude Bellingham is back. Barca are about to dominate the Ballon d'Or podium. Lamine Yamal already has his party set up. It's going to be exciting. God knows what's going to happen there. I'm sure it's going to be very, very PG. No doubt about it. No shady shit going on at all tonight. Churros y Tácticas. Let's get to it. Diego Lorena, I have to be very honest with you. I'm woefully underprepared for this podcast, outside of anything Real Madrid related, because I was traveling all day yesterday, and it was like a very rare situation that none of my flights had Wi-Fi. So I was literally in the dark, like the Stone Age, for almost 24 hours. So I know nothing. I didn't watch anything outside of Real Madrid, bar a few highlights here and there. So I'm gonna have to ask you for help to piece this together. But yeah, how are you? How are you doing?
You know that woefully unprepared and churros y tácticas go together
It's true.
like wine and cheese, my friend. That
Correct.
is the crux. That is what the foundation of
Yes.
this podcast. No, in all honesty, though, fear not. I've got you covered, man, especially on the Barça front. I mentioned that I did catch Atletico's draw. Cholo Simeone having a very, very tough time indeed. Cholo is like incapable of picking up a win so far. As just trying to pull up the standings, I think I saw them all the way down to 12th. Kian Subani, Atletico getting off of a rough start in La Liga Santander, La Liga EA Sports, I should say. As they couldn't get more than a 1-all draw. And I don't know if you saw this, but Julian Alvarez, my friend, he is not happy whatsoever, and was caught sort of mouthing Cholo Simeone off as he was sitting on a bench going, he gave him the Balotelli, the Mario Balotelli, you know, the Why Always Me t-shirt. Remember that one?
Yes, of course. Iconic.
Yeah, so he was saying, siempre mí, porque siempre yo, porque siempre me toca a mí. Why is it always me that has to be the sacrificial lamb? As he was substituted off early, I guess, or earlier before he would have liked. He missed the penalty on the day as well. As again, so San Moix, we know that's a difficult ground, of course, but a 1-0 for the Colchoneros, and they're down at 12th, man. They are 9 points clear from the top, from the Huats, from Real Madrid. And if I'm not mistaken, there's the derby coming up next week, right? Is it this weekend or next week?
September 20.
Here it is, yeah.
Yeah.
27.
We do have
yeah.
one game before that, but yeah. That's the big test, bro. That's the biggest test.
What, for Real Madrid?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, so far, you mean? So far this season?
Yes. But it's
the way they're looking, though. I don't know, man. It's like,
yeah, but
I guess Real
yeah,
Sociedad was not much of a matchup, but
yeah, but you have to look at our track record in that stadium. In the Simeone era, it's not good at all. Even that season, like when we were really good 2 seasons ago, 2023, 2024, when we won the double, there was only one team we lost against that whole season, and it was against Atletico. So, like, my opinion is that no matter what form Atletico are in, we're gonna go to that stadium, and it's gonna be hell. And all those things that Diego Simeone cries about, wah, insulting in the stadium. All of a sudden, like all of his insulting minions are gonna be there insulting everybody in the white shirt. So I expect it to
I'm
be.
impressed. Go on, finish.
That's it.
I was going to say, when I heard Cholo talk about that, and of course seeing the antics as well, him at the touchline with all these Liverpool fans, and I'm like, I'm just impressed that Diego is understanding Scouse over here. They're like, like, how is an Argentinian with his level of English? I've never heard him speak English. I think that is for probably good reason. So he'll have to forgive me once he, of course, catches glimpse of this podcast, as he usually does. Because, like Sergio Ramos, Diego Simeone is also a regular watcher of Churros. So salute to Cholo. But Scouse, I didn't think he'd have it in him to understand the Northern English accent, but those were funny scenes. And yes, I of course, took a moment there to think of you. I'm thinking Kian is going to milk these declaraciones, these statements, when he was complaining about the insults that were hurled at him and the team during the game in the Champions League. But sorry, you were gonna look. I didn't. You're about to say.
I've had that in my mouth like this for like 40 seconds.
Okay.
Ready to say no. I mean, I don't have anything insightful to add other than everyone is okay with insults and calls everybody soft until it's their turn to be insulted, and then the tears come out. But apparently, that dude has a storied trouble making past in stadiums, and I think he's been banned before, and he's back now, and now he's starting some shit. That's my.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
That's from what I understood reading some stuff later about it. But
He's a repeat offender.
Correct. Yes.
As they often are, Kian. As they often are.
Guess
So,
they never
well,
change.
you're back in back up north, back in your trusty Canada. You had a nice trip in Europe through Madrid, and I caught the podcast you did with Sarah. That was very enjoyable, my friend.
Yeah. Sarah.
Sarah, excuse
Yeah.
me.
She doesn't. Yeah, I've made that mistake a couple times before, but it's Persian / Spanish. They say Sarah.
Sarah, es verdad.
Before I forget,
but she's not Spanish, right?
she's not. Does she have any Spanish in her? I don't know. But I do know her dad is Persian.
Okay.
Persian Canadian,
yes.
just like me.
It was a fun dialogue. It was nice to see you sit down with a reasonable culé, unlike this radical fanatic over here. By the way, I'm sorry to disappoint all of your minions that I'm still here, still doing this podcast, 8 years running, my friend, or my friends, I should say. And but I would love to get her on, man. I would like to be able to pick her brain a little bit, understand from a deeper level what made her culé and what it's like for her. I lived in Madrid for 4 years, so I know what it's like to be a culé in the nation's capital. But yeah, get her on here, man. Get her on Churros.
Well, why don't we all? If you're gonna come to Madrid next month, we can all sit together. How about churros? How about that?
That's a date, my friend. We are going
all right,
to do
Sarah, if you're listening, take note. They quick comment from Zubair in the chat, who's reminding me to point out, don't forget to tell everyone to like and subscribe. I'm notoriously bad at this. Please like, subscribe. This is being co-streamed on Diego's channel too, D-Spot. Go and subscribe to both channels if you're not subscribed already. Hit like. It is zero effort on your part and helps the channel. Thank you so much. So where do you want to start? I'm going to let you lead this one because, as I said, I only watch Real Madrid. I saw highlights of Barca. Do you agree with my statement at the beginning of the podcast? I don't think Real Madrid are quite there yet, but I'm just going based on some encouraging signs. But do we have a strong version of both these teams right now?
Yeah. I do agree with that. I mean, Madrid are not dropping points. I think it was from what I caught a easy day, or let's say, easy day in the office, a comfortable day in the office. Espanyol not putting up too much of a fight. No controversy, which was a good one, a big relief in that sense, that we don't need to sit here and discuss anything that makes people uncomfortable now. But, I think this is a solid Madrid that is going to continue to pick up more points in threes than not. Not a wild take in any stretch of the imagination. But what I'm trying to say is that at some point in time, and I agree, and I'm going to refer back because I thought it was a astute point as well. what Sara made, that you would have to see an improvement in Xavi ball. And by that, I mean, I don't feel that right now, comparing these two sides, quite logically so, given the fact that this is Flick's second year as well, but that Xavi has hit the ground in a way where you say, my God, Real Madrid, they are playing like heavenly football. This is a team that is gelling. I still think that there's things to figure out there, and that more talented teams can exploit, possibly take advantage of. And I'm looking mainly in Europe, and I'm looking mainly at Barça to do so, because I think given the level that we're seeing from La Liga teams right now, and I say that with quite a heavy heart, most teams are just not there yet. Most teams are not
Yeah.
able competing with a starstruck, very talented Madrid side that, yes, dominates most of their opponents, and you see that from the stats as well in terms of possession, shots created, shots on goal, etc. But there's still something fundamentally, I would say, missing for this team to gel and be as ruthless and as seamless as a Barça. So I do still put Barça one step ahead of Real Madrid in terms of where the team is right now.
Yeah, I think what they're essentially missing to me is just putting a lot of their chances away and taking advantage of the control they got.
Hmm.
And I do think Xabi is still trying to find the right combination of players to make it all tick. I would say, like, just looking at Real Madrid's wingback situation, it's so much better than last season that, like, I think just by that alone, the team is so much better because
Hmm.
you look at Alvaro Carreras, man, he's been a revelation. We don't really have troubles right now with those positions. Last year, our wing backs were Vasquez and Fran Garcia. Like, it was a really terrible situation. Just like that, by default alone, we're better. But I also think there's been a lot of encouraging signs, Diego, and I will keep saying this. I don't think it's been perfect, and I don't want anyone to interpret it that way. I don't think it has been perfect, but I do think it's been very encouraging. I don't really understand the people who are complaining. He's won every game. He's deserved to win every game. Um, the defense has been really strong, and I think he's getting the best out of several players. And I think there are a couple
Yeah,
players.
you think so?
Yeah, I think there are a couple players that I underestimated how good they would be. One is Carreras. I thought he was going to be good. I didn't realize he was this good. And then Masantuono is really growing into the team, and he's been hella fun to watch. And I'm just kind of curious to see how those. I mean, Carreras is a starter. Now Bellingham's back. We'll see what happens to Masantuono. But even if Masantuono does get benched, he's not going to be losing that many minutes. I don't think, the way he's been playing. He's another one that I didn't really think of this season as like one of the guys that is going to be a huge part of the system, but maybe one for the future. But he's been very prominent so far, and he's looked better every game. So it's kind of interesting that there are a couple players there that I didn't expect them to be as important as they've been. So
Yeah, I think Mastantuono needs more time. Really, it's clear that the glimpses and I know what you mean. That every time he touches the ball, there's sort of like an anticipation and this electricity that
oh, you
goes
saw me
through
say
the
that,
stadium.
huh? Man, you
No,
you know my content better than my
I didn't.
myself.
I didn't see you say this. This was a take of one of the pundits a few weeks
Who
back
was it?
already.
They stole my take. That's my take. I literally used the word electricity. That's my take.
Well, but the funny thing was that it was, and I made a quick reference to it on the podcast. It was about this caño that turned out to be a not caño because actually the defender intercepted it. But the crowd is on their feet, and even us was kind of putting an article out there saying, "Look at how excited the crowd is getting over this caño," and that's when I mentioned I feel like there's almost a sense of desperation to cling these hopes of the Madridistas onto this young player, who I get is electrifying, who I get is exciting, but I think still needs more time to be not a finished and polished product. Obviously, he's young, he's 18 years old, but to have the impact, uh, like don't give him that kind of pressure, is I guess what I would say. And maybe he's Lamine Yamalish in the sense that, well, he doesn't feel that kind of pressure, or he welcomes it and shrugs it off, and he's able to handle it. I guess what I'm saying is, if moving forward the player continues to not be, or have as many successful dribbles as the crowd might want to, we know that the Bernabeu can be a very impatient crowd. How long will they be able to stay patient and keep up this anticipation and excitement for a player that, again, is not finished, still needs time to gel in? Meanwhile, and I kind of want to digress now and deviate into this topic here, which caught my eye, because what's going on with Vinny and Xavi, man? How worried are you about the two not really gelling? Because from what it looks like, it seems, and I don't know if you saw these images, Kian. Maybe I'm speaking here out of turn, but video footage has shown the two having a dialogue, and dissatisfied Vinny kind of shrugging him off, walking away from Xavi Alonso, and walking down into the team tunnel. Are they reading too much into this, or is something brewing under the scene here?
I don't think they're
Do you
reading
know
too much.
the images I'm reading? I'm referring
Yeah,
to
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was there, but I didn't see them that night. But I saw them later, obviously, because like we can't really see what's happening. We don't have replays. But I think there's a few things here, man. This is a big, big can of worms to open. But one is that it's pretty normal for players to be emotional when they are subbed off. Um, a lot of players feel like they're making a difference. They want to make a difference. They want to stay on. They want to help the team. They believe in themselves, and that's totally normal and natural. I think every player in football history has gone through that. Have gone through that my whole life. So uh, that's totally normal stuff. And Chabi said, Masantuono had the same reaction. Like he didn't want to be subbed off. So it's not just Vinny who doesn't want to be subbed off. Everybody wants to play. But of course, because his name is Vinicius Junior, there's this is going to be a bigger story. And you know, I had many conversations this past week with various people. Um, and from what I know, Vinny's camp has a totally different interpretation of what's going on than what I think is actually happening. And I think Xabi Alonso's reality is much more different than Vinicius's reality. And I think you can kind of guess why. The reason why is because Xabi Alonso has a lot of things he's trying to address. He's trying to introduce like a dozen new tactical concepts. It's going to take time for him to do that. It's kind of one by one. In the meantime, this is really a totally different base of players than last season. There's a totally new group of players. Um, I know, like you can say this is largely Ancelotti's squad, but it's really not. Like, I mean, look at the players who are starting in this team: Dean Howson, Carreras, Massantuono. Um, Vinicius is not starting every game. There's a totally just different set of ideas and new players that he's trying to make it work. And I don't think he sees Vinicius as a surefire part of that starting core, that nucleus.
Hmm.
And my thing has always been that we have to let the coach decide and have full control over everything he's doing. How much in the past at Real Madrid have we complained that the coach doesn't have enough power? That he kind of is just the guy who is the middleman between the board and the stars, and he has to appease the board, he has to appease the stars. And there have been periods in Real Madrid history where we just need someone who has the experience, the resume, the ideas, and the balls to just do whatever he wants without anyone interfering. We had that in people like Mourinho. Now we have that with Xabi Alonso, and you just have to let him cook. and you have
Is
to
that
be
a
okay.
problem though, for Vinny?
Of course it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, because he wants to start every game, just like Mbappe does, but he's not getting the same kind of untouchable status as a Kylian Mbappe or an Aurelion Tchouameni or a Dean Housen or whoever. And I've made this point obviously, and this is not, this is not a unique point of view. I think everyone understands this now, that it's not rotation.
Hmm.
Rotation is part of it. It's not that he's not rotating. Of course he's rotating. Don't get me wrong, but there are pillars of the team who are not getting rotated. Mbappe is not getting rotated. Tchouameni is not getting rotated. Carreras is not getting rotated. And go down the list of those guys who are just not getting rotated. And the rest, Xabi is letting them fight it out. And Vinicius is among those players who are not in the quote unquote pillars. And mind you, it's September 22nd. The amount of things that could change from now until the end of the season are just limitless. It's still on the table that Vinicius could become one of those starters and gets into like this undroppable form. But I don't think he's at that stage yet. And
Hmm.
that's on Xabi to ultimately decide and figure out. It's on the table. But you are right to point out that, is this going to be a problem or a distraction? Yeah, I think it's going to be. Like,
Hmm.
especially if the team loses. Like, can you? Now I'm going to just make up scenarios. Okay, so everyone understands this exercise. These are made up scenarios and hypotheticals, and not what I'm
Hypotheticals. Yeah.
saying was going to happen. But let's imagine you go into the derby next week, or in the Clasico next month, or Liverpool in December or November. Sorry, and Vinicius doesn't start those games and you lose. Like, can you picture the media scrutiny that will happen? Can you picture the noise that will come out in that situation?
Hmm.
So these are all things that you have to deal with. And my thing has always been, so long as you're winning, you're gonna keep those situations tempered, you know. But that's what's gonna happen at Real Madrid. My camera's freaking out.
Could you see a scenario where he is either forced or demands to be transferred and packs his bag in a winter transfer market?
No way. Winter transfer market, a player of Vinicius's caliber. When was the last time that happened?
Mm,
Never.
I mean, Ronaldo, no? Original OG Ronaldo left Madrid in the winter transfer, didn't
Did
he?
he? When he went to Milan?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I'm curious. I'm just gonna look it up. But the point is, it's not gonna happen.
Right. Well, I'm saying, like, but what if that just becomes a, unsustainable situation to have somebody with,
You're right, by the way. January 2007.
right? Yeah, I
Ronaldo.
seem to remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
with ego, with I guess the.
He's not leaving
Mm,
in the winter, Diego. Come on. That's crazy talk.
but would Xabi want somebody like that in a dressing room? Wouldn't that be detrimental then for the remainder of the season? How can he manage that? If this becomes now a regular thing where we see these images, and the media is obviously very quick to pick up on any sort of gesture, any conversation, or lack thereof for that matter, and just continue to feed into this, and player and coach do as well, meaning they don't see eye to eye, and the Vinny on the bench continues to be a reoccurring pattern. Wouldn't he at some point just prefer not to be able to, not to deal with that?
But I think you're outlining
Definitely worst
me.
case, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
you're outlining the worst case scenario where it actually does get that ugly.
Mhm.
I think for it to reach that point, it would take a lot.
Mm.
Um, and I if there's because and I'm just running through scenarios right now. But if Real Madrid are really bad by December and Vinicius is not in the lineup, logically speaking, wouldn't that mean you reintroduce him into the? And by the way, he's not. It's not like he's not in the lineup. He's just not playing as much as he would under Ancelotti.
Mm.
But he is playing every game. He's just either coming off the bench or getting subbed. So
Mm,
look, I understand still he's not getting that prominence that Ancelotti gave him, but um, for that to happen in January, it would really have to be you would I think you're almost talking also about possibly sacking Chabi at that point before even selling Vinny.
mm,
Wouldn't
mm,
you? I mean, like, realistically, if Vinny does leave, it won't be in the winter time.
No,
Because
of course.
if in December that's happening, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I just like
You're breaking my brain. I apologize. I'm not prepared for that conversation you threw at me, but that would be
it for
unthinkable for me.
I hear you, and for me, like we're talking about a scenario where Madrid lose at the same time. I'm wondering, even if Madrid win, and it means sacrificing a Vini to put on the bench, is that something that would be sustainable? Is that a pressure cooker waiting to explode? And if so, when what is the
Yes.
time? Is that a ticking time
Yeah,
bomb?
and that's my point. It's a pressure cooker that's closed and it will
Mhm.
explode when the team loses. That's what
Right, right,
happens.
right. You don't think before, not. And look, before we continue to move on to Barça Getafe, I wanted to ask as well, because I touched upon it quickly and then in passing, the patience of the Bernabeu that we know is notorious sometimes when it comes to casting judgment upon even icons, legends. The patience that will they have the patience with a Mastantuono?
Right now they love him. They love that gut right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that and I thought you were trolling me when you mentioned electricity because I thought it's because you saw what I said because I
No,
had a clip
no.
about it. I tweeted about it.
Okay.
But since you haven't seen it, now I can with confidence just give you my take on it.
Mhm.
I One of the things that struck me being at the two games this past week was that every time he got the ball, there was just like anticipation. There was like, whoa, like we're so excited to see what's going to happen. And I think sometimes when he makes mistakes and he's kind of cleaning those up as he goes, I think this was his best game so far. Against Marseille, he did a lot of crazy stuff, but he also made some mistakes at the same time. And then
Yeah.
this game against Espanyol, he was just pure terror. And but one of the things that is special about him, and this part of his game I really didn't know about when we were doing the scouting reports, we were watching stuff, and even the Argentinian guy who I interviewed for the podcast, he was like, the one thing I'm not sure of is he gonna defend the way Xabi wants to do. And
Mm.
this guy is just defending like an absolute maniac. And that's why every time the team loses the ball, like you just look at where he is, he's just sprinting and hunting down defenders, and the Bernabeu love that like about him. So I think that's why when you talk about growing pains and stuff, because he is literally younger than Vinicius was when Vinicius was promoted as a starter by Solari. He's still in that eight, like he just turned 18. Um, but you can tolerate these growing pains because he's not a net negative. He's just working really hard. And so it's hard for him to go wrong in the starting lineup. And everyone was saying like when Jude comes back, he's going to get dropped. And I'm not saying they're wrong because that might happen still. But if he's going to get dropped, he's not going to like disappear. He's going to be playing a lot still, I think. Um, and that'll be really interesting because all this talk about Vinicius and his minutes and stuff. And I know you want to talk about Barca versus mighty Getafe, who are um, who are
Continue
just
to
such
be a
a beautiful
disgrace.
football machine. Um,
Yeah.
Now, if Vinny, look, I don't think Vinny's place gets necessarily affected by Jude's return because I think it'll be probably like Vinny, Mbappe, and then Jude. But you know, I don't really know. But it's just another player now you have to fit in. By the way, Jude played 6 minutes off the bench and looked like incredible in those 6 minutes. I'm so excited for him to probably start tomorrow. We'll see. All right, Barca Getafe. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Bordalas ball? You want to talk
No.
about the great Pedri? What do you
It's
want to
the
talk
same
about?
as always. Yeah, we can talk about Pedri. I mean, Frankie de Jong and Pedri right now it's just such a joy to watch them play. The two never lose a ball. They never lose a possession. Always making the right decisions. They've really crafted their own identity, if you will. There's always this tendency to compare, especially Pedri, I guess, with a Xavi or an Iniesta. Now between them two, there's this synergy that is very, very comforting, I guess is the right word. They are near flawless, I would say. Like they're unique in their offensive but also defensive work. Offensively, I think their influence is also growing game by game. So Frankie and Pedri, despite the fact that, and unfortunately so, after this win came with a bittersweet twist. The 3-0 was nice. However, in the very final seconds, Fermin Lopez went down and looks very, very bad. In fact, now the club medics have put out a statement that he will be out for at least 3 weeks. And that comes after the news that also Gavi will undergo surgery. So he will get the knife to his inner meniscus to see what the problem is to both diagnose and treat the lingering knee injury issue that Gavi has. So I say that because they will be out for an undetermined amount of time, at least in the case of Gavi. We'll see if Fermin Lopez will be back in 3 weeks, but at least we have, knock on wood, Pedri and Frankie to rely on, and they're just seamless right now. It's their work together is a joy to see, to watch, and I think the team depends so heavily on their input as well. And game by game, they're two standouts for me. But what I'll say as well is that Flick has really managed to show why he's such a unique coach. We talk about the versatility of a player like Eric Garcia, who just last season was literally accepting a move to Girona, said, my time here at Barça is finished. Let me stay in Girona. Had to stay due to the financial circumstances and everything. We needed a player like him. And whether he plays at right back, left back, defensive pivot, and now even at center back, you're looking at an Eric Garcia that is one of the brighter players out there. Through his boots and quick thinking grew the 2-0 as well. And he's, it's quite mesmerizing to see how influential he's become upon the game. And collectively, I would have give this team performance, just a 10 out of 10. We could have scored more goals. But defensively, I mean, Getafe, they produced nothing, literally nothing, no shots on goal in the first half. It was domination from beginning to end. And
has Getafe produced a shot on goal in the past 10 years?
You can't ask Bordalas those questions. He gets offended very quickly. And I also don't get...
Said, by the way, what he said was he talked about the budget difference.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was, well, you know who else has no budget? Rayo Vallecano.
Mm-hmm.
But look, everyone has their thing. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's I was going to bring that up as well. Ferran Torres kind of, he was asked about Getafe. I think they had 20 fouls and on Barça, and there were nasty fouls as well. It was classic Getafe in that, the bullying style of football. There's images that are now, being shown where Lewandowski is literally just getting shoved around like a rag doll.
And the one where he gets passed around by two players. That was hilarious. I didn't see the game, but I saw that highlight. I was like, that's my team. I'm a Getafe supporter now.
It was quite amusing to look at, but not amusing when, just clear fouls don't get called. I mean, they could have been left with less players. The referee, I think, although not as bad as usual, was quite permissive in that regard, and kind of handed out a yellow card early on that I think set the tone for the remainder of the match. So it wasn't as frustrating as it could have been. But you're playing against a side that is just not interested in playing football, and that is highly, highly frustrating to watch. But anyway, let me finish out my standout individual performances and players here. I think a shout out needs to be given to Gerard Martin, a player that many deemed not even La Liga worthy. worthy last season, is now showing that he is very much a dependable player.
Hmm.
And even in the starting 11, could be a very useful, productive player for this team. He showed it as well on the big stage in last season. And his evolution, I think we got to give credit to both player and the coach in that regard for giving him that confidence as well. Joan Garcia continues to be one of the best players. Just such a so reliable. Such a reliability in between the three sticks. It's very comforting to reuse that word again, to be able to count and feel assured and rest assured with a goalkeeper with the qualities and shot stopping abilities of Joan Garcia, which I don't think we've enjoyed and seen in quite some time. So he was brilliant yesterday as well, with the odd but one or two chances that Getafe did have on goal. It was interesting to see Ferran and Lewandowski operate both as strikers. They were both playing very central. I initially with the lineup would have assumed that Ferran would have been far further on the left flank, so on the wing, which, by the way, the reason it turned out, whether this is confirmed or not, Hansi will not confirm it, but the reason why Marcus Rashford didn't start was because he came a few minutes late, and Flick, strict with his rules, meant that Marcus Rashford missed out the chance to start, to be part of the starting 11 again. He did come on in the second half, had a great, productive 45 minutes. So what we're seeing from Rashford right now is also very encouraging. Of course, had the assist as Olmo put in the last goal. But I thought the pairing between Lewandowski and Ferran was interesting. Ferran Torres right now the guy's a killer. He's a tiburon. I don't know. I didn't read the stats, but I think he's closing the gap. At least he's closing the gap with Mbappe to be at the moment Pichichi of La Liga. Just highly efficient. He's confident in front of goal. Could have scored a hat trick. Shot an absolute rocket off of the crossbar. But you can see that he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now. And what else, man? What else? Olmo, Fermin, Rafinha. It's we have a very healthy group of players. A shout out to Rooney as well, Rooney Bargi, who had some solid minutes coming off the bench as a substitute. And all of this, of course, in the absence of a Lamine Yamal, who we don't know exactly when he'll be back yet, whether it's in the midweek or the weekend action against Real Sociedad over the weekend. And the midweek is... who are we playing again? I forget. Oviedo away, Real Sociedad at home. But yeah, we have... well, the way we're playing right now, yes, like I'll double down on that. Like this team is coming together now after kind of a rough start out of the gates in the first opening 3 games or so in La Liga. After this international break, right now this team is gelling together. Rafinha, you hear some murmurs and some criticism that he's not the way he was. He's not up to the standard that he showed last season. I disagree. I mean, he's not scoring as many goals, maybe, but still so productive. He had an assist yesterday. Could have scored himself as well. I am zero worried about Rafinha's performance right now. Quite the opposite. Sure, there's some inconsistencies. We're seeing that the high line is being adjusted slightly, a little bit deeper. I think that is benefiting us as well in terms of conceding less chances and goals for the moment. So, whether all the players in the back are fully in sync and gelling is kind of remains to be seen, especially when we face sturdier and heavier and more talented opposition. That's something that last year was an incognito, if you will, until we played Madrid's and the Atletis and the Champions League opponents, the Bayerns, etc., which were tests that we passed with flying colors. So right now I'm kind of like, let's bring it on. We're coming together. The new players, the Marcus Rashford, Joan Garcia, and even Rooney Bargi are clearly able to adjust to what Hansi Flick is expecting from them. There's still time to grow in that regard as well, but it's all coming together, man. So I'm looking forward to a season where we're going to continue for the big trophies once again.
Do you have time to answer like a couple questions
Yeah, of course.
from me? No super
Okay.
chats.
Hmm.
Um, so I gotta hand it to Flick. I think some of these players who are stepping up. I mean, Ferran has been good the entire Flick era.
Yeah.
Ferran used to be a meme of like
Hmm.
Man City, myself I included. Like I was like, Man City fleeced you guys. Like that was crazy. Um, I had a take that aged pretty poorly with Sarah. Like that was the day of the Newcastle game where I was like, who's supposed to step up? Rashford, and then Rashford shut me right up that day. Um, so you guys are like getting these people to produce. My question is this: what what game on the calendar is your first test? Like it's like, oh
Before the
shit, like I want to see, like, are we actually as good as last season? That's the game.
hmm hmm I mean, obviously the Clásico is on the horizon and is always circled red. Right now, if I and as was Newcastle, I think Newcastle up until that point was sort of the biggest test to see where we would match against. It's funny to call Newcastle a European big, but in terms of spending, they most certainly are. Right
So
now, I would say PSG, Real
sure,
Sociedad, and yeah, PSG coming up on October 1st. Real Sociedad, even though they've been underwhelming
they
so
suck,
far,
dude. They
they
suck.
suck bad, huh? Yeah, that bad.
Yeah,
Jesus.
but I actually Newcastle.
Mm.
I don't know if enough has like you. This is I don't, this is more your reality than mine. So I don't know if there was any criticism of that Newcastle performance. Mind you, I only watched the first half. Um,
Well, that was the worst half.
but I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at if Newcastle was a test, I was shocked that they didn't score in the first half. The final numbers,
Joan Garcia, the reason why they didn't. Huh?
sure, yeah. They had 16 shots to, or sorry, that's Barca's numbers. So, sorry, XG. They actually had a higher XG than you in that game. Um, I don't know. I just was wondering if what was it all like in Barcelona world? Was it all like, oh, Rashford and Barca are great, or
No.
was there like,
Mm.
hey, what happened in that first half? Like, was that
Hmm.
concerning at all, or I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know what reality because I don't know if this was a joke or not, but Lucas had tweeted a video of a reporter asking Flick about was the rain, was that Cruyff's tears of joy? Did you see that? Was that a real question?
I didn't see that.
Okay, I didn't even hit play on that video to see what the words were, but
Mm.
I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah,
what
look, I
was
think Newcastle started out super strong. There's no denying that.
okay?
They came out ready to play Barça de tú a tú, as they say, ready to play them face to face and player to player, and kind of match up and say, look, this is what we have to offer. It wasn't like they were in a excessive low block or anything of that nature. Even though defensively they were a very sound team and made it very difficult for Barça to, string passes together, get comfortable on the ball, hone the ball, dominate the possession, and really find each other because the players were marked very, very tightly. And it wasn't until that split second where Rashford was just a little bit off of his defender. Rafinha kind of worked as a decoy as Kunde put in a chip into the box, and from a stationary position, just standing, Rashford managed to score a very powerful header that kind of really pulled the tie and swayed the balance over and the momentum into Barca's way, where it was like, holy shit, like we got a goal, and that just rejuvenated the team. It gave them the energy, but also the confidence needed to sort of face a Newcastle that was a little bit, I think, stunned in their tracks and a little bit, desesperado, like a little bit desperate, if you will, or kind of clutch on to as to why or how was it possible that they were trailing Barca after a very solid 45 minutes, and that's when Barca just went into the next gear and started to kind of steamroll, and that's when we saw more chances being created. And Rashford, I mean, it's individual brilliance that brought in the second goal for Barça, because that goal, you just have to tip your hat off and say, take a bow, son, take a bow, because there's only few players that have that ability to shake off their defender, dip in his case his right shoulder, and just create enough space to in a blink of a second unleash an absolute rocket from outside of the box to beat the keeper and put it into the top left corner. And that was game set. I say that was game set and match. It wasn't really, because then in the final minutes, Newcastle did make a very real effort into clawing their way back into this game. And when they scored the 2-1 with still like 7 minutes of injury time remaining, they were nerve-wracking. So I think that, had a draw wouldn't have surprised me in this game. I was very happy to have walked away with 3 points. I felt that it was deserved, but if it had ended in a draw, I would have also been like, well, Newcastle did a lot of damage to us, or showed that they are a tough enough side to compete against the likes of a Barça, to have walked away with a point. So, it was one of those games. But yeah, also, I mean, look, last thing, Kian, it's not easy to play in England, in St. James's Park. It was a great atmosphere. There were a great crowd that was on. That were they were behind their fans, and also that, I'm sure, had something to do with it. I mean, in the end, Newcastle was playing at home.
Barça PSG October 1st is the one I look at, obviously.
That's massive.
It's a big one. Not consequential, because it's the group stages and you guys are going to qualify, we know. But just as in terms of like, they have players who can capitalize on those chances that Newcastle couldn't. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you mentioned, Classico, I'm cautiously curious about it, because on one hand, I think, this is a better equipped Real Madrid team to beat Barça than they were last season. On the other hand, I'm shocked at how inferior Real Madrid were to Barca last season too. So I also can't get optimistic about it either. But I'm just keeping an eye on it. That's all. I also have to go.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure catching up.
Always.
You and I will be back for our patrons over on patreon.com/churrositacticas once a week. Everyone submits questions. We answer all of them. It's a ton of fun. Our patrons are literally amazing. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Looking forward to meeting some of you guys. Some new patrons. Please sign up, submit questions. We'd love to hear from you. Diego, thank you very much, my man. Appreciate it.
Always, buddy. For sure. We'll catch you on the next one. Join us on Patreon.
All right, bro.